Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the series of Muslim scholars. And today, we will dive together to get to know one of the famous scholar, which is Ibn Khaldun. Before that, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Husna Akila binti Hajar with metric number 1181976. With me and my friends Nabila, Fitriya, Adnan and Khalida, you guys will gain a lot of new and exciting knowledge about an expert of sociology, Ibn Khaldun. First and foremost, what is the definition of society? The word society is come from French and Latin. In French, society or societe means company. Meanwhile, in Latin, societum means fellowship, association, alliance, union, and community. Basically, the word society have the meaning of a group. Let us see the meaning of society according to the sociologist. A society is a group with common territory, interaction, and a culture. Gerhard Lansky, a sociologist of America, defined societies in terms of their technological sophistication. As society advances, so does its use of technology. Comparatively, Ibn Khaldun likely to view on the other perspective. To understand a society, we need to understand human first. According to him, the dignity of human is more than the other creature because the ability to think and study sciences and arts. Therefore, they can build up civilization to meet their needs. In a simple word, a society is a group of humans that can interact each other in the same language in a place. Move on to the next part, which is society in a Holy Quran. There are some words referring to the society written in the Holy Quran, which indicates the idea of Islamic society. The word qawm, ahl, and shu'ab have indirect significance reflect the theory of society. Qawm is an Arabic word represent a group of people is stated 383 times with different verses in the Quran. For instance, in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 25, Surah At-Tawbah verse 70, and Surah Ali Imran verse 11, verse 117. The hundreds of repeated words matter that people is a golden for a time being. Besides, Allah has mentioned in the Quran 127 times the word Ahl, which means people, such as in Surah Al-Ankabut verse 46. وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and the other verse in Surah Sad verse 64. In Surah Al-Baqarah, there are a total of 5 verses declare the word Ahl. Lastly, the word Shu'ab. It is written once in Surah Al-Mursalat verse 30. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب. Shu'ab have a meaning of columns. Since the utmost word used is qawm, digging a hole onto it may experience the essence. All in all, Islam is a universal religion who taught every single action to preach the servant back to God. In fact, this religion is guiding the Muslim life to the extent of establishment and sustainable of society. For such long time ago, the concept of unity and brotherhood, no compulsion and gender equality has been taught in Islam as official in the Holy Quran in such a perfect way. In Surah An-Nisa verse 1, Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 2, and Surah Al-Hujurat verse 13 implement the concept of unity and brotherhood. In Surah Al-Hujurat, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. This verse implements the concept of unity and brotherhood as the ultimate key for a social harmony indication. Besides, As stated in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 256, La ikraha fid din, there shall be no compulsion in acceptance of the religion. Allah had told the Muslim not to force other believers as they can live on the earth by His mercy. Therefore, it is indirectly demonstrating Islam, whereby it is a religion with no compulsion to others. Next, there are no superiority in Islam except for righteous. Hence, no man is better than woman, the white is not exclusive than a black, as claimed in Surah An-Nisa verse 1-4. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ. And whoever does righteous deed, whether male or female, while being a believer, those will enter paradise and will not be wronged. In a nutshell, Islam directs the universal social system purposely for a harmonious and peaceful coexistence.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Khalida Ilyani binti Khairul Anwar 118237.
Next, I will be presenting about specific verses and mufassir interpretation for each verse which is related with the topic society in Holy Quran. Today, I will present 3 verses that consist of word qaum. As we already informed earlier, the most numbers of the word which represents society in Quran is qaum. So, the first verse is from chapter 21 Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 106. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna fi hadha labalaghan liqawmin abidin, which means, verily in this Quran is a message for people who would truly worship Allah. So what does Mufassirin interpret for this verse? In Kitab Ibn Kathir, this verse means, indeed, in the Quran, which we have revealed to our Prophet Muhammad, there is a plain message that is beneficial and sufficient for those who worship Allah. This verse refers to those who worship Allah in the way He has prescribed and the way which He loves and is pleased with. They would rather obey Allah than follow the shaitan and their own desires. From this verse, we can conclude that the type of society that is stated is the society who worship Allah in the way He is pleased with, and not the society who put the shaitan and their own desires as their guidance. Next, we move on to the second verse, which is from chapter 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 25. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قال رب إني لا أملك إلا نفسي وأخي فافرق بيننا وبين القوم الفاسقين, which means, he said, O my Lord, I have power only over myself and my brother, so separate us from these rebellious people. The verse depicts on the situation where Bani Israel refused to fight and Prophet Musa became very angry towards them. Then Prophet Musa prayed to Allah, قال ربي إني لا أملك إلا نفسي. O my Lord, I have power only over myself and my brother, which means none of them, Bani Israel, none of them obey, implement Allah's command and accept the call except my brother Harun and me. فَافْرُقْ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَ الْقَوْمِ الْفَاسِقِينَ. So separate us from these rebellious people. Al-Awfi reported that Ibn Abbas said, meaning judge between us and them, while Ali bin Abi Talha reported similarly from him. Ad-Dahak said this verse means judge and decide between us and them, while other scholars said that the verse means separate between us and them. Another type of society that has been stated in the Quran is fasiqeen, which is a group of fasiq people. In this verse, it portrays on how the group of Bani Israel refused to fight and obey Allah's command. And we move to the last example of the verse that consists of word qaum is from chapter 41, verse 3, Surah Al-Fussilat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون, which means a book whereof the verses are explained in detail, a Quran in Arabic for people who understand. For the third examples, the interpretation of the verse is divided into three parts. So the first part, Kitabun fussilat ayatuh, a book whereof the verses are explained in detail, which means the meaning of the verses are clear and its ruling are sound and wise. The second part is Qur'anan Arabiyan, a Quran in Arabic, means because it is a clear Arabic Quran, its meaning are precise and detailed, and its words are clear and not confusing. We can see another proof from chapter 11 in the Quran, Surah Hud, verse 1, which support this verse. Allah said, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alif Lam Ra, Kitabun uhkimat ayatuhu thumma fussilat min ladun hakimin khabir, which means, the Alif Lam Ra, this is a book with verses basic or fundamental of established meaning, further explained in detail, from one who is wise and well acquainted with all things. This verse means the Quran is miraculous in its wording and in its meaning. And we go to the last part of this verse, which is لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ, for people who understand. This clear style will be readily understood by scholars who are thoroughly versed in knowledge. From this last verse, we can see the type of society that has been stated is a group of people, which is scholars, who really understand the explanation of Quran due to their deep knowledge in this field.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Wan Adnin Maisarah binti Wan Pakrizan with the metric number 1182036. Okay, so now let us see the biography of Ibn Khaldun, specifically his life and career. Getting to know him, Ibn Khaldun's real name is actually Abdul Rahman bin Muhammad bin Al Hasan bin Muhammad bin Jabir bin Muhammad ibn Ibrahim bin Abdul Rahman bin Khaldun. He was one of the descendants of an Arab tribe coming from South Arabian region of Hadramaut. Ibn Khaldun was born in the month of Ramadan in 732 Anno Hijri / 1332 Anno Domini in the house of Khaldun. Anno Hijri here means the years in Hijri, meanwhile Anno Domini means years in Masihi. His death was on 26th of Ramadan 808 Anno Hijri / 16 March 1406 Anno Domini. So, during his lifetime, he spent 20 years in his early life, and then for the next 23 years later, he spent his life to study and works for various rulers. Okay, so now we are going to see the fields of Ibn Khaldun's study. For example, the Quranic recitation and its styles, Quranic orthography, Malikat jurisprudence, and hadith or traditions of the Prophet and poetry. All of these fields of education fall under the category of Islamic sciences. Besides Ibn Khaldun, during his lifetime, he also had been traveled to many places such as Buji in North Africa in the middle of 766 Anno Hijri, Egypt during the invasion of Sultan Timus over the Syria, and also Cairo where his last days were spent. So next, Ibn Khaldun's first and foremost teacher was his own father, who was a scholar that was not involved in any politics like his older ancestors. There was also a great philosopher and mathematician who taught Ibn Khaldun mathematics, logic, and philosophy from Tlemcen, named Al-Abili. In addition, there were also many teachers in Maghrib that the names were not stated who taught Ibn Khaldun. And lastly, Ibn Khaldun also studied the work of previous scholars such as Ibn Rushd, Ibn Sina, Ar-Razi, and Tusi. And in this fourth category, we can say that it is indirect teaching of Ibn Khaldun. Oh no, indirect learning of Ibn Khaldun. Okay, so next, it is not crystal clear stated in any articles about the names of students of Ibn Khaldun, but what we can find here is the scholars, specifically the modern one, who are influenced and admire the works of Ibn Khaldun. Firstly, we have here Niccolo Machiavelli, who state that Ibn Khaldun is one of the greatest philosophers of the Middle Ages. We also have Khatib Salabi, who was influenced to use his theories to analyze the growth and decline of Ottoman Empire, Arnold J. Toynbee, who acknowledged Muqaddimah as the greatest work of its kind, Ernest Gellner, who stated that Ibn Khaldun's definition of government as the best in the history, Arthur Leffer, who acknowledged Ibn Khaldun's ideas was greater than his works, which was the Leffer curve, Robert Flynn, who stated that during the era of Ibn Khaldun, within the 300 years, there was no other greatest theorist than him until the Bond of Vico, an Italian philosopher, and also lastly Egon Orwan, who termed the concept of socionomy in his work. And so lastly, the Ibn Khaldun's careers. During his lifetime, Ibn Khaldun had been a scholar, a teacher, a magistrate, and also a chamberlain. A magistrate is the one who conducts a law, meanwhile a chamberlain is the one who manages the affairs of state and relations between Sultan and his subject. And during his lifetime, Ibn Khaldun was appointed as a chamberlain when traveling to North Africa.
Next is Ibn Khaldun's contributions. His field of knowledge, one of them is in sociology. In sociology, Ibn Khaldun discovered about problems that surrounding the nature of historical studies up to his time. He approached by way of the study of the constituent elements of society, such as economic life and urban institutions, the organizing ability of the state, and solidarity or group feeling, asabiyah. The above, these three things can be said to be the elements of Ibn Khaldun's general sociology, applicable to all types of societies, nomadic or sedentary, feudal or prebendal, Muslim or non-Muslims. Based on his studies, he able to create a theory which was theory of state formation. Next, in education, he proposed about what is actually literary composition. He also considered about the problems that can occur in the educational system. He also discussed about the character of the auxiliary sciences and their purposes. He also mentioned about elementary education or childhood education. The importance of a Quranic education and about severity or harshness in the process of educating the young can result in undesired harm to them. Next, his field of knowledge is also in Sufism. In Sufism, he focused on what was and was not orthodox in Sufi doctrine and practice. For instance, the zikir. He also reminds his reader to observe the practice and the attitude of the early Sufi or Salaf al-Mutasawwifah as an ideal model. Next, he has knowledge. He is knowledgeable in dream interpretation. He explains how dreaming takes place, the types and characteristics of dream vision, and some rules and examples of dream interpretation and method of comparison like tasbih. Next is his books. Ibn Khaldun is able to create numerous books, and the most popular one is Muqaddimah. Muqaddimah aka Prolegomena, was written as the introduction to the Kitab al-Ibar. Ibn Khaldun understood the Muqaddimah to be the explanation of the underlying causes and inner meaning of that history, while the Kitab al-Ibar was the descriptive part of his history. Muqaddimah is written to create a theoretical framework that would allow for a reconstruction of history that avoided the errors common to the historiography of his time. The second one is Kitab al-Ibar Diwan al-Muqtada wa Ikabar fi Ayyam al-Arab wal-Ajam wal-Berber. In English translation, it is translated as Book of Examples and the Collection of Origins of the History of the Arabs and Berbers. In Kitab al-Ibar, it details about the history of the Arab and Berber dynasties of the Arab East, the Mashriq, and the Arab West, the Maghreb. Next, he also had established a book called Al-Ta'rif bi Ibn Khaldun, Mu'allif Hadal Kitab, Varitlatuhu Garban wa Sharqan. Information on Ibn Khaldun, author of this work, and his travels east and west. Next is Ibn Khaldun's criticisms. The first criticism, what he criticized is the problematization of history as the basis of sociology. He criticized the state of historiography among the historians of the Arab East and West up to his time. He commented about his autobiography regarding his own family tree, the accuracy of which he doubted. The tradition-bound historians copied the work of earlier historians without paying due attention to the origins of phenomena and changes in conditions over time. Their main objective was to preserve historical information as they received it, without seeking explanations of causes and origins, and make judgment as to the truth or falsehood of reports. When he wrote the Muqaddimah, he wrote the Muqaddimah in order to clarify the proper method for the study of history. That is, the method that will enable the scholar to ascertain true events from false narrative and to assess the probability and possibility of the events of history. It is this method and subject matter that he refers to as the science of human social organization, Ilm al-Umran al-Bashari, or the science of human society, Ilm al-Ijtima al-Insani. It is also necessary to know something about the nature of a society. This requires going beyond the outer forms zahir of facts and reports to the inner meaning, batin of history, that is, the explanation of cause and effect. Second is the premises or muqaddimat of the science of human society. Ibn Khaldun stated that in human society, in the studies of human society, two things is important. Human society is necessary. Humans have a need to live together for the sake of companionship and for the satisfaction of basic needs. Second, humans are influenced physically, sociologically, and socially by the physical environment. Differences in the physical environment will result in different modes of making a living. The last one is the theory of the rise and decline of states. The two major types of society that Ibn Khaldun deals with are pastoral nomadic or Bedouin society, al-Umran al-Badawi, and sedentary society, al-Umran al-Hadari. Ibn Khaldun's theory of the rise and decline of states revolves around the relationship between the two types of social organization, Umran, and the various modes of making a living that they represent. The nature of dynasties, in turn, was examined by Ibn Khaldun in terms of the types of authority wielded by states, that is, kingship, mulk, and Khalifa authority. Ibn Khaldun's theory of the rise and decline of state is a theory of weak and strong asabiyah group feeling. Nomadic groups with strong asabiyah has the prerequisites to establish states because they could dominate over groups with weak asabiyah.
Understanding Quran and Sunnah in his work, Ibn Khaldun claims dream interpretation is part of religious science in Islam. He refers to the Quranic story of Prophet Yusuf, Surah Yusuf, verse 4. When Islam came, sorcery, astrology, and atheicism were forbidden because they are against the religious teaching and are to be avoided. Ibn Khaldun recalls the Quranic story of Harut and Marut. Sedentary life constitutes the last stage of civilization and the point where it begins to decay. It also constitutes the last stages of evil and of remoteness from goodness. In chapter 17, verse 16, when we desire to destroy a village, we order those of its inhabitants who live in luxury to act wickedly within. Say the Prophet, the final hour will not come until people compete one another in the height of their buildings. Besides that, Ibn Khaldun talks about the runes delivering messages in Kitab al-Ibra, and here is several ayah from the Quran. The first ayah, surely in that is an example for men possessed of eyes, chapter 3 verse 13. The second one, in their story, was a warning, Ibra, for those with understanding, chapter 12 verse 11. Despite Ibn Khaldun's skepticism regarding the city of brass and Iram of the columns, in which he believed neither of these, he accepted the reality of monstrous races of Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, as well as reports of the geographical location of the temple that Alexander the Great had built to keep these creatures out. In Quran, Surah 21, the Prophets, verse 96 to 97. Under the classification of science of Arabic language, Ibn Khaldun stressed that the fruit and styles of and syntax discipline is the inimitability of Al-Quran and adjusts Al-Quran. Thank you.